There's a saying that father time comes for us all. Well, tonight it was Dame time that came for the Sacramento Kings. Damian Lillard's game-winning three-pointer breaks the hearts of Sacramento in overtime. But Dame was the guy who buried the Kings and put them in the ground. It was Sacramento's free throw shooting that actually killed them. We'll discuss right here on Locked On Kings.
You are Locked On Kings, your daily Sacramento Kings podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is that time for another episode of Locked On Kings.
Hello and welcome into Locked On Kings, your podcast hub for Sacramento Kings coverage all season long. Today's episode is brought to you by Jase Medical. Empower yourself when you purchase a Jase case, providing you with a personal supply of 5 antibiotics that treat 50-plus infections. Get yours today at jasemedical.com and use code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order. My name is Matt George. I have the privilege of being your host here. I'm a Sacramento sports anchor and reporter for ABC 10 News, and I, like you, was riding the roller coaster of that entire game. I mean, first and foremost, like take the Sacramento Kings aspect out of it, the disappointment, the frustration. We'll get to all of that, trust me. But what a freaking awesome basketball game, right? Just an amazing. If you didn't have a side to root for and you were just hoping to be entertained and enjoy NBA basketball, that's what you got tonight. So we can put our Kings bias aside long enough to go, man, awesome game, great game, Bucks. What a fun finish. What an awesome night in the NBA where most people were watching the NFL. Most people were watching the Cowboys get the brakes beaten off them, or the Detroit Lions barely squeaking past the Los Angeles Rams. The NBA gave us a instant classic with the Kings and the Bucks tonight. So tip our cap to that. Now let's bring the Kings bias back and talk about how frustrating, how painful this 143-142 loss is for the Sacramento Kings. Here is how this game closed out. Kevin Huerter was really good in overtime. He was really good, period, in this game. We're going to talk about him. Of course, we're going to talk about Mike Brown going crazy and getting ejected, and he went off in postgame. Let's just say that. You're going to hear a little bit from Mike Brown later on in the podcast. We'll talk about De'Aaron Fox. We'll talk about Sabonis, another triple-double for him. There's so much of this game to get to. But let's start with how this game ended. The Kings had the ball. They had possession of the ball, up by 4 with less than 30 seconds remaining. Of course, the Bucks play the foul game. They foul the one guy that they probably don't want to foul, Malik Monk, who is an 87% free throw shooter. Monk steps to the free throw line, misses both free throws. In total tonight, Malik Monk missed, 4 different free throws, went 6 of 10 from the field. So an 87% free throw shooter shot 60% from the free throw line tonight. You follow that up with a Brook Lopez corner 3 to make it a 1-point game. Look, if you give the Bucks an inch, they'll take a mile. If you give them hope, more often than not, a team this good, a championship contender like this, they are going to take advantage of it, especially on their home floor. Brook Lopez hits a big corner 3, a contested corner 3 to bring the Bucks to within 1. They foul De'Aaron Fox. Fox steps to the free throw line, hits only 1 of 2 free throws. The one free throw that he missed there in crunch time, in overtime, was the only free throw he missed in this game tonight. He went 6 of 7 from the free throw line. As a team, the Kings went 5 of 20 from the free throw line tonight. You give Dame Lillard an opportunity. How many times in his career has he hit big three-pointers when it mattered most? He hits a big shot there. Some would say that the Kings gave him far too much space. Maybe Sabonis should have been playing him a little bit tighter to make sure that shot was as contested as possible. I don't really think it mattered. You gave Damian Lillard the chance to do that to you. More often than not, he is going to do that to you. The Bucks break the Sacramento Kings' hearts. Dame Lillard can go full Dame time tonight, can point at his watch all he wants to. He's earned it. The Bucks have earned it. That's a fantastic win for them. But the Kings are killed by free throw shooting. It's been an issue all season long. All season long, this Kings team has just been dreadful from the free throw line. And because their wins are typically pretty lopsided, they've had some close wins. This was their first overtime loss. They're now 3-1 in overtime. So they've had some close wins this season, of course. Their losses are really lopsided. So we haven't really seen free throws directly kill the Kings, but it was only a matter of time before it did, right? And for Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox to miss 3 of 4 free throws, any one of those free throws drops, you're at least playing a second overtime period. You hit 2 of those free throws, you win this game, right? Just a brutal, brutal way to lose. Mike Brown talks a lot about this Kings team controlling what they can control. They can control how they play on both ends of the floor. They can control the energy and effort that they put in, especially on defense, but on both ends of the floor, they can control free throw shooting. They can control talking to the officials or not talking to officials, all the things that nobody can take from the Sacramento Kings. Free throw shooting is one of them. It's a free throw. There's no defense. There's nothing. It's just you and a shot for a point. And the Kings have killed themselves time and time and time again this season. This was the worst death blow of them all so far tonight. How do the Kings fix it? I have no freaking clue. I asked Mike Brown about that earlier, and basically the answer he gave me was, I guess we're going to have to shoot more of them in practice, right? Like, I've seen the Kings do their free throw exercises where one player will shoot 2 free throws. If they miss, then the entire team runs back and forth to put a little bit of pressure and put some stuff on the line. So I know this team is working on free throws with punishment and with pressure in practice. It's not enough. This Kings team has fallen off a cliff shooting free throws. They weren't great last year, but they were certainly better than they've been this year. And the majority of the players from last year they've brought back. So it's not like they added a Shaquille O'Neal or DeAndre Jordan or dreadful free throw shooter to this team. For some reason, Sacramento is just missing free throws left and right. And that was the reason they lost this game that should have been theirs, deserved to be theirs. They fought hard all night long. A really, really great basketball game in general. The Kings deserve to win this game, deserve to snap a 14, now 15-game losing streak against Milwaukee. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. In the end, the final score shows the Kings lost this game once again. But I will say, no moral victories here, right? I'm not preaching moral victories, but I'm going to call it like it is. This looked like Kings basketball tonight, right? This looked like the Sacramento Kings that we know. More importantly, this looks like the Sacramento Kings, like who they can be, what their identity is. And that identity has been missing or has been AWOL or has been here and then gone and then here and then gone at different points over the course of this season. The ball movement was fantastic. There was energy. There was fluidity. There was pace. There were so many assists in this game. The Sacramento Kings assisted on 34 of 55 field goals. The Kings were playing their caliber offense. And it started with De'Aaron Fox. 32 points tonight, 5 assists, 3 steals. The Kings shot 52% from the field, 41% from three-point range, 75% from the free throw line. Now, I think some people are going to watch this game. Some people are going to read these box scores, and they're going to go, yeah, no, duh, the Kings look better. Shots were actually falling, Matt. When shots aren't falling, the Sacramento Kings don't play as well. I mean, that's an obvious takeaway, and you're right. But the eye test, to me, shows something different. It's not just that shots were going in. It was how the Kings were moving, the shots they were getting, the shot selection, the energy, the hustle, how everybody was getting the ball or touching the ball, moving the ball. It just looked like that Sacramento Kings offense that not only was the best in history last season, but a Sacramento Kings offense that teams were terrified of. What this Kings team used to be and still should be known for. De'Aaron, that was the best he's played in weeks. It's the best he's moved in weeks. I don't know if he's completely healthy or not. I have no idea. De'Aaron looked like he did at the start of the season. He looked spry. He looked quick. He looked unstoppable. He looked fearless. He took three-pointers if they were available. He also attacked the basket when he needed to. Of course, he missed that free throw at the end, which he's not getting a pass for by any means. And trust me, he's going to hold himself to that more accountable than anything I could say, anything anybody else could say. He knows what happened there. He knows how he screwed up with that free throw, just like Malik knows how much Malik screwed up with the 2 free throws in the clutch that he missed. But De'Aaron tonight, it's the best he's looked in quite a long time. Of course, that's encouraging from the standpoint of if the Kings can get their MVP back. We know how dynamic and dangerous they are. But when De'Aaron is playing that way, his team follows suit. And the Sacramento Kings offense looks how it should look. Talked about this a lot on Locked On Kings. Again, I think it's worth re-emphasizing. I know and I understand that Mike is trying to get from good to great with this Kings team. I understand. In fact, I know because he said it a million times. Mike says, and he knows, he says that just being a team that scores a lot of points, it's fun, it'll get you to the playoffs, but you're going to lose in the opening or second round of the playoffs. You're ultimately not going to win a championship, which is the whole point. Defensively, you have to be better. I understand that completely. Nobody was looking at the Sacramento Kings defense from last season. Nobody's looking at the Kings defense from this season, even though it's better than it was last season statistically, and going, oh yeah, that's acceptable. That's good enough, right? Understand. That being said, it's a general manager's job to build a roster. It's the head coach's job to take that roster and make it the best that it can be. This Kings roster is not a defensive roster. Does that mean they completely punt on defense and don't care about defense? No, because you're trying to build good defensive habits at the top. You're trying to build good defensive habits with the guys that you know are going to be here no matter what. That's Fox, that's Sabonis, that's Murray, and that's Monk. And everybody else you want to bring up to speed as well. But I think there needs to be a re-emphasis for Sacramento on their identity, which is on the offensive end. Look, you're not beating the Milwaukee Bucks by playing anything other than up to your strength. Now, maybe you have a great defensive night where you really do a good job defending Dame and really do a good job defending Giannis Antetokounmpo, but I'm not going into a game against any team going, tonight's going to be an epic defensive performance. That's how we're going to win. If not, then I'm betting with terrible odds against me, right? If I'm the Sacramento Kings, I'm entering a game against the Bucks. I'm entering a game against anybody going, we need to emphasize our strength, which is on the offensive side of the ball. This Kings offense looked familiar tonight. And I'm not saying they have to throw everything defensively out the window. To me, this season isn't just about establishing yourself as a bona fide playoff team, which I think the Kings pretty much have. This season isn't about getting from good to great. To me, or maybe it's about those things, but in addition to that, I think this season is about finding that middle ground between the historic offense with that kind of focus and that dynamic offense and more of a defensive intensity, more of a overall defensive improvement. Finding the middle ground, not picking one over the other, finding that middle ground. And I think that's what Mike has been struggling to do this entire season is how much do I take away from the offense and focus on the defense? How much do I push from the defensive end that sacrifices my offense? I think he's gone too far on the other side. And I think that's had an effect on certain players. That's certainly had an effect on Kevin Huerter, who, again, was excellent tonight. Talk about Kevin Huerter. I'll talk about Domantas Sabonis and his amazing night. Want to talk about Mike Brown, too, because he got ejected. Mike Brown got hot. I've never seen Mike Brown this angry. We'll hit on all that in just a second. Today's episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is brought to you by Sackyard Community Tap House. Hey, a night like tonight, Kings basketball on a Saturday night, also NFL football, whatever it is, a night like tonight is perfect for Sackyard Community Tap House. Go and watch. Whether you're out in their patio and all year long, their patio is fantastic. They have fire pits out there during the winter, misters out there during the summer, watching on their outdoor TVs, watching on their indoor TVs, enjoying drinks from all of their amazing beers on tap or their local wines for you to try out. Like Sackyard would be the perfect place and would have been the perfect place for you to have been tonight to watch this Kings game and watch all the NFL action. Hey, maybe you're looking next Saturday or next Sunday for a place to watch the San Francisco 49ers playoff game, right? The second round or the divisional round. Sackyard Community Tap House is a perfect place for that. Plus, of course, for Sacramento Kings basketball, it is your home for the Locked On Kings listener. It's a family-oriented place. They don't just want you just to bring adults, right? Bring your kids. It's very open to kids. Bring your pets. They love dogs. Bring your dogs there. It's a great place to overall just enjoy yourself, whether it's a game night, a game day, or just a day to go out and spend some time. They also have all kinds of events, including another Locked On Kings watch party that's coming for you 2 days after the Super Bowl, February 13th. It's a Tuesday. Kings versus Suns. The game's on TNT in Phoenix. I'll be hosting another watch party at the Sackyard Community Tap House, so I hope to see you there. And like I said at the top of the show, today's episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is brought to you by Jase Medical. I know we come to sports to escape from the chaos and the irregularities of life and all its realities, right? But can we talk for a minute about being prepared for the things that life throws at you, right? Those curveballs. According to the FDA, pharmacies are running out of antibiotics right in the middle of the worst flu season in over a decade. That's scary. I can't imagine my son getting super sick or my wife getting really, really sick and me not having the medications needed to take care of them, or the pharmacy or the hospital not having what's needed to get them that aid that they need right away because so many things are on back order or there's such a high demand for things right now. Thankfully, I don't have to worry about that because I have the Jase case, which is a pack of 5 different antibiotics to treat a long list of bacterial illnesses, including UTIs, respiratory infections, sinusitis, skin infections, among other things. This stuff could happen to any of us at any given time. It's not one of those, oh, that's never going to happen to me. You want to be prepared. Visit jasemedical.com, complete your physician encounter. It'll be reviewed by a board-certified physician, and your medications will be dispensed by a licensed pharmacy at a fraction of the regular cost. It's never been more important to be prepared than right now today. Go to jasemedical.com and use our offer code LOCKEDON to get $20 off your order. Man, oh man, Mike Brown sure earned his fine tonight. And I'm not just talking about what happened on the court. In fact, it might not stop at a fine. I think there's a good chance that Mike Brown might be serving at least a 1-game suspension. I don't think it would be more than a 1-game suspension, but there's a chance that Mike might be suspended. Go back and watch the clip. I posted on Twitter at @MattGeorgeSack if you want to see it there, but just look up Mike Brown ejection. You will see it. De'Aaron Fox has his arm wrapped up by Cam Payne, and there's no call. Fox throws the ball away. The Bucks are coming back in transition the other way, and at the top of the screen, you see Mike Brown run out onto the floor, actually make physical contact with a player, a Bucks player who's trying to run in transition, and stop the official in his tracks to yell at him, to scream at him, and to speak his mind. Mike Brown is one of the nicest people on the planet. So if Mike is that pissed off, there is a reason why. Now, Mike, after the game, kept going. He actually brought a laptop out to his post-game press conference to show film and break down the inconsistencies of foul calls in this game. It was a very one-sided game in terms of foul calls. 32-20 free throw advantage for the Bucks. Not that that mattered because the Kings still suck at making free throws, but still, the Bucks got to the foul line significantly more, 12 more times than the Sacramento Kings did. And Mike called out those inconsistencies. A foul one night is not a foul the next night, or a foul against the Sacramento Kings on Giannis or on Dame is not the same as a Bucks foul on De'Aaron Fox, or is not a foul on De'Aaron Fox, or that De'Aaron should be drawing, right? The frustration from Mike Brown poured out in this moment. And like I said, I think we have a fine, or we definitely have a fine incoming. We might even have a suspension incoming for Mike Brown. Oddly enough, almost the exact same thing happened as last year. I think it was in Toronto. The Kings were down. Mike Brown was pissed off. He got tossed. The Kings ended up rallying and winning that game. It looked like the Kings were going to do the same thing tonight. And then, of course, Dame Lillard shut that whole thing down. This ejection happened, I think, early for fourth quarter. So the Kings went quite a while without their head coach, with Jordi Fernandez taking over. Nearly pulled it off. In the end, of course, they didn't. But I mentioned Mike in his post-game press conference. He went for like 3 straight minutes. Sounded like me on a podcast. He went for a long time talking about things. I'm not going to play that whole thing for you. Here's just a clip of Mike's post-game press conference here from the NBC Sports Bay Area feed that, of course, you can find all your Kings broadcasts on.
Fox comes off a pick and roll. The kid, Cam Payne, hooks him, hooks his arm. Look at Fox's arm when he spins off of this. Hooks his arm. He almost falls. No incidental contact. He hooks his arm and almost falls, and there's no foul. And so to me, as a coach, I'm okay with, look again, boom, he almost falls. And that's at the fourth quarter at the 9:32 mark. I'm okay as a coach because the referees are human and they're going to make mistakes. But you just hope, A, there's some sort of consistency. B, there's some sort of communication between the refs. And the refs tonight, they were great. They communicated with me all night. But in terms of the consistency, you guys saw it right here. Dame coming off the pick and roll, and Foxy getting hooked and almost falling coming off the pick and roll. And then on top of that, if you get communication and you get some form of consistency in the game, okay, then you can live with some things. You can live with it. But the consistency that I see tonight Wasn't in my opinion there. And then I don't understand the rule. If the rule is you got to go vertical and both hands up, how can you take away 2 free throws when the guy got his forearm down here? Now, if they're going to change the rule on me and say, okay, the forearm can be down here and the other one can be up there, all right, then now I know it going forward. But that's not what the rule is, because we get it called on Domas all the time, and they tell us he's got to have both hands up if you want to go vertical. That's why I got kicked out.
Get your money's worth, Mike. Get your money's worth. That's all I have to say. And you know what? That's my head coach, man. He's absolutely right. I'd run through a wall for him. That was awesome. I'm glad he spoke his mind. I don't know what's going to happen, but sometimes it needs to be said. Sometimes you got to stand up for your guys. And again, it almost worked tonight. Got to give some love to Kevin Huerter too, man. He's been struggling. He's been so up and down this season, more down than he's been up. He just comes back from a weird ankle injury that he suffered in the opening seconds of that Charlotte game. Comes out tonight, drops 26 points, 10 of 14 from the field, 6 of 9 from three-point range. He was awesome from the perimeter. Also 10 rebounds for a double-double, 3 assists, and 1 steal on top of that. I spent a lot of time on the Locked On Kings podcast this week and last week, talking a lot about the core 4 of Fox, Sabonis, Murray, who unfortunately only played the first half of this game, only scored 4 points, went out with a injury to his right hip, I believe. But I spent a lot of time recently talking about the core 4 here in Sacramento and how they seem to be really solid, really established, right? They have their ups and downs, and the Kings go as they go, right? But the supporting cast, the role players around them, that includes starters who play specific roles for this team, like Harrison Barnes and Kevin Huerter. They just haven't been good enough this year. Maybe the Kings should be looking at the trade deadline to improve that more than add a Pascal Siakam or another star piece of that core. If you can go out and get a guy like that, hey, excellent. But maybe that's not what this Kings team needs. Maybe they need just a couple more role-playing, improving players to at least help this team maximize what this roster can accomplish this season. Well, this is a night where you got a big, impactful performance from your starting shooting guard. Kevin Huerter comes back, has a really big night. Now, on most nights, the Sacramento Kings win this game. Unfortunately, tonight, they were not able to do so. Now, there's a million reasons why they lost this game. But if I'm Kevin Huerter, I'm also a little frustrated too, because I'm like, man, I did my job, especially in overtime. Kevin was great. Hit a couple of really big three-pointers. I mentioned the 10 rebounds. Loved the activity that he had on the glass tonight. Kevin was awesome in so many ways. These are normally games that the Kings win. In fact, these are games in a lot of ways this season with the inconsistencies. It's like this is a game you absolutely have to win when you're getting that kind of performance out of Kevin Huerter. Maybe you could kind of change it a little bit because you got a big performance from Kevin Huerter on a night where you got pretty much nothing out of Keegan because of an injury. Whatever way you want to look at it, Kevin stepped up tonight. Now, we can't expect 26 points a night from Kevin. That's not what he's going to do. But Kevin was hitting and getting the open looks that he's been getting all season long. 1, they were falling tonight. 2, he got himself going. He established himself with a rhythm. He was playing with effort, intensity, hustle, fluidity, all those words that I used in the first segment to talk about how the Kings played as a whole. Kevin was a part of that. So when this team is united in playing that way, everybody can be impactful in their own way. I was happy to see what Kevin put up tonight. The Kings normally win these games and, quite honestly, should always win games when Kevin Huerter is giving you this kind of performance. Today's episode of the Locked On Kings podcast is also brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL regular season is over. It is playoff time, baby, and the action is going nuts at FanDuel. Never a better time to sign up and to play than right now. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook, and right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Put $5 down on the Niners next week. Put $5 down on the Buffalo Bills in tomorrow night's Monday night game. Whatever you want to do. Put $5 down. If you win, great. If you lose, it doesn't matter, because here's $150 in bonus bets for you to keep playing all playoffs long. For the Kings season, so many different ways for you to play. You can find live same-game parlays, find bets in their new Explore tab, make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, and more. FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make your first bet a layup. FanDuel is official partner of the NFL. Going to spend this last segment here before we wrap up talking about the big men. One of them, not a king. I want to talk about Brook Lopez here in just a second, but let's talk about the big man that is a king, Domantas Sabonis. 21 points, 9 of 10 from the field, 13 rebounds, 15 assists, including 8 assists in the first quarter. That's another triple-double for Domantas Sabonis. He is now one of 3 centers ever to have 10 or more triple-doubles in multiple seasons. Those other 2 centers, Nikola Jokic and Wilt Chamberlain. A class of their own. 2 of the greatest, not just centers, but the greatest players we have ever seen. And now, Domantas Sabonis is in that group. Now, I don't think anybody's going to tell you that Sabonis is the same caliber player as those 2 guys, right? Certainly not Nikola Jokic, right? You can see how different Jokic is compared to Sabonis. That being said, Sabonis is still doing something that only those elite caliber players have done more or done better. And still people want to undermine it. You know, I could spend a whole segment talking about that alone, but I'm not going to take that route. I just want to focus on what he is doing. Sabonis had 14 triple-doubles last season for the Kings. We're not even halfway through the season right now. We're almost halfway through the season. And he has 10. He is on pace, if you round up, he is on pace for 21 triple-doubles this season. More triple-doubles, a significant increase of triple-doubles if that pace holds. And the Sacramento Kings are playing better and are better statistically and record-wise than they were last season. Yeah, no wonder this guy is an all-NBA center. No wonder he's considered the 3rd best center in the league behind Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic. It's where he belongs. And these are not just empty regular season numbers as much as people want to claim that they are. They're not. These are elite numbers by an elite player who, since he has come here to Sacramento, he has been at the foundation of this franchise and organization's turnaround. He has unlocked De'Aaron Fox in so many ways. He has unlocked this Sacramento Kings offense that is at its best when it's running through him or he is directly involved in the action. He's a special player, man. Domantas Sabonis is a special player, and he keeps doing amazing things. In fact, he's the first player with a 20, 10, and 15 game while shooting 90% from the field in NBA history. Nobody has ever had a 20, 10, and 15 night with that efficient shooting ever before. Special player that we're watching every night, a special player that everybody is taking advantage of, to be honest with you, myself included. Even though I try and give him as much praise as I possibly can, we take for granted what Domantas Sabonis does. We do. And I think Nikola Jokic is partially to blame for that. Nikola Jokic is so amazing and puts up such unbelievable numbers that we're maybe a little desensitized to how amazing those numbers are and how amazing what the things that Domantas Sabonis is doing right now. It's unbelievable. He's fantastic. That being said, speaking of adding pieces, rotational pieces to kind of help this Kings team, Brook Lopez would be a perfect player for the Sacramento Kings. That being said, let it be known, and Bucks fans who are listening are probably going, what the hell is this guy talking about? There's no chance the Kings are ever getting Brook Lopez. You're right. No chance at all. I point this out to say this. It's not that the Kings should try and go out and get Brook Lopez, because they're not going to, right? It's that Brook Lopez is provides exactly what the Sacramento Kings are missing, right? He's a center who protects the rim. He had 3 blocks tonight, 17 points, 3 of 6 from three-point range, 9 rebounds. He protects the rim, one of the greatest defensive players in the league, and he spaces the floor on offense. He is the reason why he's not available is he's the perfect pairing center alongside Giannis Antetokounmpo. He's in a perfect spot. And credit to him for how he's changed his game as the game has evolved. He went from one of the best post players in his time with the Nets to now being what he is, a rim-protecting, three-point shooter, center, 7-footer in the modern NBA. So credit to him. But that is the type of player that's what I'm saying. I don't know if that player exists. Like maybe it's Chet Holmgren, maybe it's Victor Wembanyama. Obviously, the Kings aren't getting those players either. But I point that out to say this. I don't know if the Kings are going to find someone who can do even a fraction of what Brook Lopez does. But that is a perfect example of the Milwaukee Bucks have their core, their established core. And yes, Brook is a part of that. But Brook comes in to Milwaukee and he plays and fills a very specific role. That's what this Kings team is missing, is players to come in and fill very specific roles, whether it's rim protection and floor spacing, rebounding, defense, whatever it may be. It further reiterates the point, or at least it makes sense in my head, that those are the type of players, those are the type of things that maybe Monty should be looking for over a fourth star to add to this core. At least that's my thought process at this point in time. All right, I'm sure you're not feeling too great after this loss, the heartbreak getting to you. Maybe you feel a little bit better. Maybe this helped you, this podcast. I have no idea. Let me know how you're feeling. Hit me up on Twitter at MattGeorgeSack. Email me, mattgeorgesports@gmail.com. Leave your thoughts in the YouTube comment section down below. I haven't released this podcast yet, and I can already see the comments about free throw shooting. Yeah, the free throw shooting was brutal. And unless they fix something, this might not be the last time that it kills them. And certainly, free throw shooting has killed the Sacramento Kings in the playoffs before. If you don't believe me, or you don't remember, and you really want to hurt yourself, if you want to go down a rabbit hole of misery for the Kings tonight, go and look up the Kings' free throw shooting percentage in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals in 2002 between the Kings and the Lakers. I wouldn't encourage you to do it, but I'm just saying, free throw shooting has bitten the Kings in the butt big time before in the postseason. Something you want to clean up if you're Sacramento before then. Appreciate your support here on the Locked On Kings podcast. Can't wait to have you join me on the next episode as always. Until then, my name is Matt George. You've been listening to Locked On Kings, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.